If we were to talk about being defined by failures, this would be one of the greatest losers out there. This is Thomas Edison, and even from an early age, he was going through school and getting roasted by teachers for not being smart enough to learn anything. With that, he was also fired from 2 other jobs for not being productive. Later, after nearly 1,000 different tries, he finally came to finally develop what would be the light bulb. With that, it was one of the most influential pieces of technology that we have now, and it raised his net worth to $12 million by the end of his life. This is another great example. Walt Disney was working at a newspaper industry where he was fired for not having any imagination or having any good ideas. He later became the definition of good ideas and imagination, as he would go on to develop 140 movies for Disney, raising his net worth to $1 billion. Later on, that company continued to grow and become one of the greatest and largest companies in the world, to the point where it's just kicking trash and absolutely taking names by now everyone thinks it's no way. Now with this, there's a couple of different things we can see in common, right? 2 great entrepreneurs that went out there and got it done, despite the failures they had. But this presentation isn't about them, it's actually about us. With this, we're here at UVU, we're here at the Woodbury Business School, and we have different goals, different ambitions. And many of us want to be entrepreneurs, that's why we're here. And the hard reality of it is that there's so many different failures that we'll go through before we finally get to that point. Something that we want to keep in mind as we're going through this is that, especially with regards to entrepreneurs, that's what we'll be focusing on today. But this regards all of us, with all of our ambitious goals, as principles I'll be talking about today, help us understand how we can achieve them. So to start out real quick, I'm going to draw a beautiful little graph up here. Let's say we have 1,000 companies that start up in Utah every year. We start out at the beginning of the year, things are going great. Studies show that only 20% of businesses make it past the year. So at that point, we're down to 200 businesses that started out at 1,000. But in 5 years, half of those guys are even gone. Now, the point that I bring this up is not to be the most depressing person on the face of the earth and say that you're going to fail. My point of bringing this up is to understand that failure is common, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. It pushed people like Walt Disney and Thomas Edison to push harder, to learn more, and become even better. Now, to start with the first principle that we'll be talking about today is to accept failure and move on. Honestly, this is one of the toughest steps there is because of how tough it is to bring yourself to that point. Ninth step, though, said, is that accepting failure is difficult. Sometimes it's tough, and it's sometimes easier to be in denial than accept that the venture that you put your heart into will not come to fruition. With this, making excuses can get in the way. There's so many different obstacles we have. If we can get past this step, understand that it's a part of being a human, that we can grow and move on to step 2, which is to evaluate what went wrong. We can learn from these different mistakes we made, no matter how painful they are, and understand that as we continue to work on them, make it better, that it'll just make the next business that we work on even better. Understanding this helps us that we can not only be taught from different mistakes, they don't have to tear us down by any means. We do this, we make plans, we move on. Having all this understood, we can now move on to figure out our finances. Especially after going through and having a business failure like this, we're going to be harming financially, right? But we can understand the fact that as we move forward, we need to have a steady job to create some more steady income, so that way we can progress, keep everything that we need to, as well as that, save up for our future business ventures. Mike Sims put this into example purposely. He's the founder of Think Lions. What happened was he had a failed business opportunity with a social app. From that point on, he became a freelance writer. And then he understood the fact that he had an unknown interest and unknown talent for freelance writing. He also was able to be put in contact with people that had a need for their own social apps they were trying to bring out. With this, he was able to develop Think Lions. With that, it has helped him to be able to grow financially, as well as a person, and find what he truly wanted to do. Because he was able to take a deep breath, find out the things that need to be changed, instead of rushing right back from the beginning. That's something that a lot of entrepreneurs make a mistake of. They say, all right, sweet, I've got it down now. And they try to get right back out there, and they just end up making the same mistake. Perhaps one of the most important steps we'll find is finding a support network. Especially with how crowded the margins are when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Everyone's trying to get out there. Everyone has their great idea, right? But the thing is that unless we find a niche, unless we find a group of people that help us find our way into that, we're not going to be that successful. That's why we reach out to other entrepreneurs. They've been through similar experiences. They want to help out more than we would expect them to a lot of times. They want to help other people succeed like they have. As you get out there, you're able to be put in contact with potential investors. It helps financially, so that way as your company grows, to be successful after you've learned from your mistakes, that way you're able to keep going. You're able to keep things progressing. After that, another thing to consider is forming a partnership. A lot of times entrepreneurs just try to go out there and take on the entire world. But the thing that they don't understand is that with having a partner in crime, or in this case business, we're able to have somebody that can help pull in money financially and also add extra ideas. That way, you're able to have a greater support team. You have more people that are spreading the idea of your business by mouth, and you're able to get yourself out there. Now, the thing that I want to focus on once again, to bring things full circle, is that our mistakes do not define us by any measure. Our mistakes actually lead us to further success. To be able to learn from those mistakes is what makes us who we are, and it's going to help us be successful. Whatever ambition we have, whether it's being an entrepreneur, human resources, or any line of business or work, we can use these principles to become successful. Thank you.